The warning. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a deep, echoing sound. Inside, thousands of alien species waited. Some had scales, some had fur, some were made of pure energy. They all turned to watch as Earth's ambassador walked in. Ambassador Chen moved slowly across the long floor. His footsteps echoed in the silent room. He wore a simple black suit. No weapons, no guards, just one human alone, facing the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The council members whispered to each other. Some laughed quietly. Humans were still new to the galaxy. Only 50 years since first contact. These other species had ruled space for thousands of years. To them, humans were like children playing at politics. Council leader Zarthik raised one of his four arms. The whispers stopped. His voice was deep and cold. Ambassador Chen, you requested this emergency session. The council has granted your wish. Speak. Chen reached the center platform. He looked up at the thousands of faces staring down at him. For a moment he said nothing. Then he took a deep breath. 3 months ago, the human colony on Kepler 442b was attacked. His voice was calm. Too calm. 10,000 civilians died. Men, women, children. They were farmers, scientists, teachers. They had no weapons, no military. They were peaceful. Zarthik waved his arm dismissively.
Yes.
We received your complaint.
The Vrax Empire has explained.
Your colony was built on disputed territory. These things happen in space. Move on. Disputed territory? Chen's voice grew harder. We had legal documentation. We followed every galactic law. We paid the fees. We got the permits. That colony was legal. A Vrax representative stood up. His species looked like giant insects with red armor. Your paperwork means nothing, human. That sector belonged to Vrax ancestors 2,000 years ago. We took back what was ours. Other council members nodded. Some made sounds of agreement. Chen stood very still. His hands were at his sides, but everyone who knew humans could see the tension in his body, like a wire pulled tight, ready to snap. For 50 years, Chen said slowly, humanity has followed your rules. When you cheated us in trade deals, we accepted it. When you insulted us in meetings, we smiled. When you violated our borders, we protested peacefully. We did everything by your laws. Because you are weak, the Vrax representative said. You have 12 colony worlds. We control 400 systems. You have no military power, no ancient technology. You are nothing. Laughter spread through the chamber. Not from everyone. Some species stayed quiet. They watched Chen's face and felt something was wrong. Chen looked up at Zarthik. I came here today with a simple request. Punish those who murdered our people. Pay reparations. Acknowledge that what happened was wrong. Request denied, Zarthik said immediately. The council sides with the Vrax Empire. Your colony should not have been there. Consider this matter closed. More laughter. Louder this time. Chen nodded slowly. His expression didn't change. I see. He reached into his jacket pocket. Every guard in the room tensed. Weapons powered up. But Chen only pulled out a small data chip. He held it up for everyone to see. Then I have one more thing to say. His voice cut through the chamber like a knife. We have tried peace. We have shown restraint. We have been patient for 50 years. He paused. This is your final warning. The laughter stopped. Warning? Zarthik leaned forward. You dare threaten this council? Not a threat, Chen said quietly. A fact. You think we are weak because we choose peace. You mistake our patience for inability. His eyes grew cold. We were soldiers before we were diplomats. We come from a world that knew war for 10,000 years. We chose to leave that behind, but we never forgot how. He walked forward and placed the data chip on the council table. Open it, see what you've awakened. Zarthik picked up the chip with amusement. More human bluffing, I assume. He inserted it into the council mainframe. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. Everyone watched. At first it showed normal things. Human ships, human colonies, standard military equipment. Nothing impressive. Then the image changed. Zarthik's four eyes went wide. His skin color shifted from blue to pale gray. Other council members gasped. Some stood up in shock. The hologram showed massive ships. Hundreds of them, hidden in asteroid fields behind moons in deep space. Weapons that bent physics itself. Technology that shouldn't exist. An entire military fleet that had been concealed for decades. Impossible, someone whispered. But the data was real. The signatures were authentic. Humanity had been hiding its true power all along. Chen's voice was soft, but everyone heard it. For 50 years we held back. We played by your rules. We let you think we were weak. We hoped you would learn to treat us with respect. He turned toward the door. You have 48 hours to respond to my original request. Justice for our dead, reparations for our colony, an apology from the Vrax Empire. And if we refuse? Zarthik's voice shook slightly. Chen stopped at the doorway. He looked back over his shoulder. Then you will learn why we choose peace, because we know exactly what comes after. He walked out. The massive doors closed behind him. The Galactic Council sat in shocked silence. On the hologram, the images of Earth's hidden fleet continued to display. Ship after ship, weapon after weapon. More power than any of them had imagined. Finally, the Vrax representative spoke. It must be fake. Humans cannot have this technology, but deep down, everyone in that room felt the same cold fear. They had made a terrible mistake. They had pushed humanity too far. The 48-hour countdown had begun. The galaxy's arrogance, the Galactic Council had 48 hours to prevent war. They wasted it celebrating. In the grand halls of the Council building, species from across the galaxy gathered for an emergency meeting. But instead of fear, there was laughter. Instead of concern, there was mockery. Humans think they can threaten us. The Vrax commander slammed his armored fist on the table. They show us fake holograms and expect us to be afraid? Council leader Zarthik nodded in agreement. I have consulted with our best technology experts. They believe the data was fabricated. Humans are clever with computers and illusions. This is all a bluff. Around the room, representatives from powerful empires voiced their support. The Krill Dominion, the Scepter Federation, the Morphid Collective, all agreed on one thing: humanity was lying. Think about the facts, said a Krill admiral. Humans have existed in space for only 50 years. We have been here for thousands of years. How could they possibly build such weapons without us knowing? Exactly, added a Scepter scientist. Our spy networks monitor every species. We would have detected this fleet. We would have seen the construction, the resource consumption, the energy signatures. There is nothing. The Vrax commander stood up, his red armor gleaming under the chamber lights. I say we teach these humans a lesson. Show them what happens when inferior species challenge their betters. Cheers erupted across the room. Not from everyone. Some of the smaller species stayed quiet. They remembered what it felt like to be called inferior, to be pushed around by bigger powers. They saw their own past in humanity's present, but their voices didn't matter. The powerful species had made their decision. Zarthik raised his arms for silence. The Council votes now. Do we accept Earth's demands or reject them? The vote was quick. Out of 1,000 Council members, 912 voted to reject. Only 88 voted to negotiate. The smaller species, the ones who understood what it meant to be threatened. It is decided, Zarthik announced. We reject Earth's demands completely. Furthermore, we authorize the Vrax Empire to take military action if humanity continues these threats. The Vrax commander smiled. It was not a pleasant sight. My third fleet will handle this. 500 warships. Enough firepower to turn Earth into glass. Across the galaxy, the news spread fast. On Earth, people watched the broadcasts in silence. Families gathered in their homes. Children asked questions their parents couldn't answer. Are we going to war? A young girl asked her father. He looked at her with sad eyes. I hope not, sweetheart. I really hope not. But in military bases across human space, something else was happening. Old veterans came out of retirement. Men and women who hadn't worn uniforms in decades put them on again. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. They all knew what was coming. Underground bunkers opened. Evacuation plans activated. Civilians on frontier colonies prepared to move to safer locations. But nobody panicked. Humans had drilled for this scenario for 50 years. They knew what to do. Ambassador Chen returned to Earth's embassy on the station orbiting the Council world. His staff met him at the door. Sir, the Council rejected everything, his assistant said. The Vrax are sending their third fleet. Chen nodded slowly. He walked to his office and sat down at his desk. For a long moment he stared at a photo on his wall. It showed the Kepler 442b colony before the attack. Happy families. Children playing. People living peaceful lives, all gone now. He pressed a button on his desk. A secure channel opened. This is Ambassador Chen. Authorization code Alpha 97. Begin Phase 2. On the other end, a military voice responded. Confirmed, sir. Phase 2 initiated. May God have mercy on them. Chen closed the channel. He won't, he whispered. Because we won't. The Vrak's third fleet gathered in formation. 500 warships, each one larger than a human city. They had crushed 47 civilizations before this. 47 species who thought they could resist Vrak's power. All of them were now part of the Vrak's empire, or extinct. Admiral Kresh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Fury. He had commanded this fleet for 30 years. Never lost a battle, never shown mercy. Set course for Earth's home system, he ordered. We jump in 15 minutes. His officers rushed to obey. Energy built up in the jump drives. Space itself began to bend around the massive fleet. Admiral, his sensor officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. Play it, Kresh said. Ambassador Chen's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, but his voice was steady. Admiral Kresh, I know your reputation. I know what you've done to other species. I'm asking you one final time. Don't do this. Turn your fleet around. There can still be peace. Kresh laughed. Peace? You attacked the Council with lies and threats. Now you beg for peace? Pathetic. We didn't lie, Chen said quietly. Everything we showed you was real, but we only showed you a fraction. Please, Admiral, for the sake of your crew, turn back. We jump in 10 minutes, human. I suggest you spend that time praying to whatever gods you have. Kresh cut the transmission. His officers cheered. The crew celebrated. They were about to make history. The species that dared to threaten the Council would be destroyed. The Vrak's third fleet would be remembered forever. They were right about that. Just not the way they thought. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute. The fleet vanished in a flash of light. Space folded around them. They traveled faster than light, crossing hundreds of light years in seconds. They emerged in Earth's home system. Admiral Kresh looked at his tactical display. He smiled. Perfect positioning. We're in weapons range of Earth itself. Scan for their defense fleet. The sensors swept the system once, twice, 3 times. Admiral. The sensor officer's voice was confused. I'm not detecting any military ships. What? Nothing, sir. No defense fleet. No orbital weapons platforms. No minefields. Earth is undefended. Kresh leaned forward in his chair. Scan again. This must be a trick. But the results were the same. Earth sat in space, blue and beautiful and completely helpless. Around it the moon, some satellites, a few space stations, but no weapons. They really were bluffing, Kresh said. He started to laugh. They had nothing all along. This will be even easier than I thought. His crew joined in the laughter. 500 ships against one defenseless planet. It wasn't even a fight. Charge weapons, Kresh ordered. Target their major cities. We'll start with, Sir! The sensor officer's voice was suddenly panicked. The asteroids. They're moving. What? On the tactical display, dozens of objects that had appeared to be asteroids began to shift position. They weren't asteroids at all. They were ships. Huge ships. Each one bristling with weapons. More contacts appeared. Behind the moon, hidden in Earth's orbital debris, disguised as satellites and space stations. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. The Vrak's third fleet wasn't surrounding Earth. Earth was surrounding them. Kresh felt cold fear in his chest for the first time in 30 years. How did we not detect them? A transmission came through. A single human voice. Calm and professional. Vrak's third fleet. This is Earth Defense Command. You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of our system. This is your final chance. Leave now. Admiral Kresh looked at his tactical display. 500 Vrak's warships against... He couldn't even count how many human ships. And they had appeared from nowhere, like ghosts. His pride wouldn't let him retreat. Not in front of his crew. Not after coming this far. All ships, he commanded. Open fire. The Vrak's third fleet unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons lit up space. Missiles streaked toward human positions. Energy beams that could cut through mountains lanced out at the hidden ships. For a moment, space was filled with light and destruction. Then something impossible happened. The human shields didn't just absorb the attacks. They caught them, held them, and sent them back, amplified. The Vrak's fleet's own weapons turned against them. Plasma fire struck Vrak's ships. Missiles found Vrak's targets. Energy beams cut through Vrak's armor. Ships exploded. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Admiral Kresh watched in horror as his legendary fleet died around him. Retreat! All ships retreat! But it was too late. The human ships moved like nothing he'd ever seen. Faster than sensors could track. More precise than AI could calculate. They wove through the Vrax formation like dancers, weapons firing with perfect accuracy. The Eternal Fury shook as weapons hit its shields. Kresh grabbed his command chair to stay standing. Damage report. Shields at 30%. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We're losing. The bridge exploded in fire and light. Admiral Kresh's last thought was simple. We were wrong. The battle lasted 7 minutes. The Vrax Third Fleet had existed for 300 years. It had conquered 47 civilizations. It had never known defeat. Now it was debris floating in Earth's orbit. Not all the ships were destroyed. A few dozen managed to jump away, damaged and running. But 463 warships were gone, destroyed or captured. On Earth, people watched the battle on their screens. Nobody cheered. Nobody celebrated. They had seen this before in their own history. They knew what war looked like, what it cost. In the Galactic Council chambers, species watched the same broadcast in absolute silence. The impossible had happened. Humanity's fleet was real, and it was more powerful than anyone had imagined. Council leader Zarthik's hands shook as he watched the human ships move through space. Get me every military leader in the galaxy now. But other empires were already moving. The Krill, the Scepter, the Morphid, all of them were preparing their fleets. Humanity had to be stopped before it was too late. On Earth, Ambassador Chen watched the aftermath of the battle. He felt no joy, only sadness. He pressed his communication button one more time. All human fleets assumed defensive positions. We offered peace. They chose war. Now we finish it. Across human space, ships that hadn't moved in decades began to wake up. Engines powered on, weapons charged. Soldiers boarded vessels that had waited in silence since the day humanity joined the galaxy. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible truth. Humanity had been holding back, not because they were weak, but because they were kind. That kindness had just ended. Part 3. Humanity Unleashed. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. The impossible had happened. The legendary Vrax Third Fleet was gone, destroyed by a species that was supposed to be weak, primitive, helpless. Every major empire called emergency meetings. Military commanders studied the battle recordings over and over. They watched human ships move through space with impossible speed and precision. They saw Vrax weapons turn back on themselves. They counted the debris that used to be 500 warships, and they all asked the same question. How? In the Krill Dominion War Room, Fleet Admiral Torvik replayed the battle for the 10th time. His 3 eyes focused on the human ship movements. Pause there, he commanded. The hologram froze. Those energy signatures, they're using quantum displacement drives. Technology we've only theorized about. His chief scientist nodded. And their shields, Admiral. They don't just block attacks. They manipulate incoming energy at a molecular level. Redirect it, amplify it, send it back to the source. How long would it take to develop something like this? Torvik asked. The scientist was quiet for a moment. At our current level, 300 years, maybe 400. Humans have been in space for 50 years. Yes, Admiral. Which means either they're much smarter than we thought or... The scientist hesitated. Or what? Or they've been preparing for this since before they joined the galaxy. Since before first contact, they saw us coming and spent decades building weapons specifically designed to fight us. Admiral Torvik felt cold. That level of planning, that kind of patience, it was terrifying. Across the galaxy, similar conversations happened in every major empire. The Scepter Federation, the Morphid Collective, the Danthar Kingdom, all reached the same conclusion. Humanity was dangerous, more dangerous than any species they'd encountered before. And something had to be done about it. Council leader Zarthik called another emergency session. This time the chamber was packed. Every species wanted to know what would happen next. The mood was different from before. No laughter, no mockery, just fear and anger. The human threat is real, Zarthik announced. We can no longer deny this. They have destroyed the Vrax Third Fleet. They possess technology beyond our understanding, and they have made it clear they will use violence to get what they want. A Scepter general stood up. We must form an alliance. Pool our military resources. Crush humanity before they become unstoppable. Agreed, said the Morphid representative. We cannot let one species have this much power. It upsets the balance of the galaxy. Around the room, heads nodded. Voices agreed. Within 2 hours, an alliance was formed. 12 major empires, the strongest military powers in known space. Together, they controlled 15,000 star systems and had over 10,000 warships against humanity's 12 colonies and unknown fleet size. We will send 5,000 ships, Zarthik declared. 5,000 of our best warships, our most experienced commanders, our deadliest weapons. Humanity will surrender or be destroyed. The vote was unanimous. Every empire committed ships. Every military prepared for the largest combined operation in galactic history. On Earth, Ambassador Chen received the news in his office. His assistant delivered the report with shaking hands. Sir, they're coming. 5,000 ships. Every major empire. They'll be at our frontier in 3 days. Chen read the report carefully. He saw the ship classifications, the weapons loadouts, the commanders assigned. After a moment, he looked up at his assistant. Tell our frontier defense forces to prepare. Sir, frontier defense is only 200 ships. Against 5,000 they'll be... I know what they'll be, Chen interrupted gently. Trust me. Just send the order. The assistant left, confused and worried. Chen turned to his window and looked up at the stars. So much beauty in the universe, so much potential for friendship and cooperation. And instead, there would be more death. He thought about the Kepler 442b colony again, about the 10,000 people who died. This war started because humanity asked for justice, for acknowledgement that those lives mattered, and the galaxy responded with more violence. Chen picked up his secure communicator. This is Ambassador Chen. Authorization code Alpha 97. Release the full fleet. Show them everything. A pause on the other end. Then, sir, are you certain? Once we reveal our full strength, there's no going back. The galaxy will never look at us the same way. They stopped looking at us with respect a long time ago, Chen said. Now they need to look at us with understanding. Send the order. Yes, sir. All fleets activating. May God be with us. Chen closed the channel and whispered to the empty room. May God be with them. They're going to need it more than we do. 3 days later, the Alliance fleet arrived at humanity's frontier. 5,000 warships arranged in perfect formation. The largest military force assembled in 300 years. Commanders from 12 different species, all working together for one purpose: destroy humanity. Supreme Commander Valtrix stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship. He was Krill, one of the most respected military leaders in the galaxy. He had fought in 62 battles and won them all. Status report, he ordered. All ships in position, Commander. His tactical officer responded. Human frontier defense detected. 200 ships. They're holding position at the colony world of New Terra. Valtrix studied his display. 200 against 5,000. 25 to 1 odds. Even with their advanced technology, humans couldn't win this fight. Open a channel to the human commander, Valtrix said. The screen activated. A human woman appeared. She wore a military uniform with Admiral insignia. Her hair was gray. Her eyes were hard. I am Admiral Sarah Okonkwo of the Earth Defense Force, she said. Her voice was calm. You are entering human-controlled space without permission. Turn your fleet around or face the consequences. Valtrix almost laughed. The confidence, the absolute certainty in her voice, as if she held the superior position. Admiral Okonkwo, I am Supreme Commander Valtrix. I command 5,000 warships from 12 different empires. You have 200 ships. I do not wish to destroy them, but I will if necessary. Surrender now and Earth will be treated fairly in the negotiations. Negotiations ended when you rejected our simple request for justice, Okonkwo said. You had chances for peace. Multiple chances. You chose war, so now you get war. 200 against 5,000 is not war, Valtrix said. It is suicide. Admiral Okonkwo smiled. It was not a happy smile. Commander Valtrix, did you really think we'd put our entire fleet at one border? Did you honestly believe humanity only had 200 ships? Valtrix felt the first touch of doubt. Explain. For 50 years you've asked us where our ships were built, where our resources came from, how we developed our technology. Okonkwo leaned forward. We never answered because you never bothered to actually look. You assumed we were weak, primitive, limited. What are you saying? I'm saying you're not fighting 200 ships, Commander. Okonkwo's smile grew colder. Sensors light them up. Suddenly, Valtrix's tactical display exploded with new contacts. Behind asteroids, hidden in nebula clouds, disguised as space debris. Human ships appeared everywhere, not 200 ships, not 500. 3,000 ships materialized around the Alliance fleet. Impossible, Valtrix whispered. You keep using that word, Okonkwo said. I don't think it means what you think it means. Every colony you thought was defenseless has a fleet. Every system you assumed was empty has ships. We've been here the whole time, Commander, watching, waiting, learning everything about you. Valtrix's tactical officer shouted reports. Commander, new contacts in Sector 7 and Sector 12. They're everywhere. More ships appeared. 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. The Alliance fleet was now outnumbered. This is your final warning, Admiral Okonkwo said. Leave human space now. You will not get another chance. Valtrix looked at his tactical display. His 5,000 ships against 6,000 human vessels. The numbers were close, and his fleet represented 12 different species with different technologies and tactics. Surely that diversity would be an advantage. All ships, he commanded. Battle formation. Prepare to engage. Admiral Okonkwo's expression didn't change. So be it, all human ships weapons free. Show them what we've been holding back. The battle began. The Alliance fleet fired first. 5,000 ships unleashing everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes, nuclear missiles, energy weapons that could vaporize planets. The barrage lit up space like a new sun. Human ships moved. They didn't just dodge. They danced, weaving through incoming fire with impossible precision. Where weapons did hit, human shields absorbed the energy and redirected it harmlessly into space. Then humans fired back, and the Alliance learned the terrible truth. Humanity hadn't just developed better technology. They had studied every species in the galaxy, learned their weaknesses, designed weapons specifically to counter their strengths. Krill ships relied on heavy armor. Human weapons used quantum disruptors that made solid matter unstable. Krill armor literally fell apart at the molecular level. Sceptar vessels used regenerating bioshields. Human weapons fired specialized radiation that killed organic tissue. Scepter shields died in seconds. Morphid craft depended on swarm tactics and overwhelming numbers. Human AI predicted their movement patterns with perfect accuracy. Every morphid ship that moved found a human weapon waiting exactly where they were going to be. One by one, the Alliance's advantages disappeared. Their diversity became a weakness, because humanity had prepared for all of them. Supreme Commander Valtrix watched his fleet die. Ships exploded. Formations broke. Commanders screamed contradictory orders. The perfect alliance fell apart into chaos. Retreat, Valtrix ordered. All ships jumped to rally point Beta, but human ships were faster. They blocked escape routes, cut off jump vectors. The Alliance fleet was trapped. In 15 minutes, 1,000 Alliance ships were destroyed. In 30 minutes, 2,000. Commanders who had never known defeat watched their vessels burn. Commander, Valtrix's communication officer shouted. We're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast to the entire galaxy. Show me, Valtrix said. Admiral Okonkwo's face appeared on every screen, not just in the battle, on every planet, every station, every ship in known space. The broadcast was going everywhere. People of the galaxy, Okonkwo began. For 50 years, humanity has tried to be your friend, your partner, your neighbor. We followed your laws, respected your customs, took your insults with patience. She paused. Behind her, the battle raged. Alliance ships burned while human vessels moved untouched through the chaos. We did this because we believed in peace. We believed that intelligent species could coexist without violence. We were wrong. The camera zoomed out, showing the full scale of the battle. 5,000 Alliance ships against humanity's fleet. The Alliance was losing badly. You called us weak because we chose peace. You mistook our patience for fear, our restraint for inability. Okonkwo's voice grew harder. So now we show you the truth. We are not weak. We are not afraid. We have simply been holding back. Alliance ships continued to explode on the screen. We were soldiers before we were diplomats. We come from a world that knew 10,000 years of war. We chose to leave that violence behind, but we never forgot our lessons. Every battle you ever fought, we studied. Every weapon you ever built, we improved. Every tactic you ever used, we learned to counter. Valtrix realized what she was doing. This wasn't just a battle. It was a message, a demonstration to the entire galaxy of humanity's true power. This war can end today, Okonkwo continued. Surrender. Agree to our original terms, justice for our dead, equality for all species, a galaxy based on respect, not fear, or continue fighting and learn exactly how far we can go when we stop holding back. She leaned closer to the camera. Choose wisely, because humanity is most dangerous when we're protecting what we love, and we love peace, enough to fight for it. The transmission ended. Supreme Commander Valtrix looked at his tactical display. 3,000 Alliance ships remained, half his fleet gone in less than an hour, and human casualties, fewer than 50 ships damaged, none destroyed. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. All ships, Valtrix said quietly. Ceasefire, we surrender. Across the Alliance fleet, weapons powered down. Ships stopped moving. The battle was over. In the Galactic Council chambers, species watched the broadcast in complete silence. They had sent their best, their strongest, their most advanced weapons, and humanity had defeated them easily. Council leader Zarthic's hands shook. What have we done? A small voice from the back of the chamber spoke up. It was a representative from the Plin species, a small, peaceful race that had been bullied by larger empires for centuries. You awakened something you didn't understand, the Plin said. You poked a sleeping giant, and now the giant is awake. Earth's Ambassador Chen appeared on the council screen. He looked tired, sad but determined. The war is over, he said simply. Your fleets are defeated. Your commanders have surrendered. Now comes the hard part. Building real peace. What do you want? Zarthic asked. His voice was barely a whisper. The same thing we've always wanted, Chen replied. Justice, equality, respect. A galaxy where strength is used to protect the weak, not exploit them. Where differences are celebrated, not feared. He paused. You have 24 hours to decide. Accept our terms, or we'll make new ones. And trust me, you won't like our second offer. The screen went dark. The Galactic Council sat in silence. They had a choice to make. Accept humanity's vision for the galaxy, or face total defeat. For the first time in 1,000 years, the powerful species of the galaxy understood what it felt like to be weak. To be threatened. To have no choice but to accept someone else's terms. They didn't like it, but they finally understood it, and that understanding would change everything. The reckoning begins. The galaxy held its breath. 24 hours. That was all the time humanity gave the Galactic Council to decide. Accept the terms for real peace or face total war. In those 24 hours, the most powerful empires in the galaxy learned what fear felt like. On the Krill homeworld, citizens watched news broadcasts showing their mighty fleet in ruins. The proud Krill military, undefeated for 200 years, had been crushed in less than an hour. Parents held their children and wondered if human ships would appear in their skies next. The Scepter Federation declared a state of emergency. Their capital city went into lockdown. Government officials fled to underground bunkers, the same bunkers they had built to protect against other species, never thinking they would need protection from humans. The Morphid Collective tried to rally support for continued resistance, but when they called for volunteers to join a new fleet, nobody came. Their soldiers had seen what happened to the Alliance Armada. They knew fighting humanity was suicide. Only the Vrax Empire remained defiant. In their great palace, the Vrax Emperor addressed his people. We will not surrender to these primitives, he roared. The Vrax have ruled for 1,000 years. We will rule for 1,000 more. We will rebuild our fleets. His transmission was interrupted. Every screen in Vrax space suddenly showed the same image. Ambassador Chen, sitting calmly in his Earth Embassy office. Emperor Vrax, Chen said. His voice was quiet, but somehow filled the entire empire. Your third fleet is gone. Your allies have abandoned you. Your people are afraid. I'm giving you one chance. One final chance. Accept our terms. Pay for what you did to our colony. Or face the consequences alone. The Emperor's face turned red with rage. You dare interrupt my broadcast? You dare threaten me in my own empire? I will destroy you. I will burn Earth too. I've heard enough, Chen said. He pressed a button on his desk. Across Vrak space, every military installation went dark. Power grids failed. Communication networks crashed. Defense satellites stopped responding. Within 30 seconds, the entire Vrak's military infrastructure was offline. The Emperor stared at his blank screens in shock. What? What did you do? We've been in your systems for 3 years, Chen explained. In everyone's systems, actually. We told you we were learning. You just didn't listen. Your military is offline, Emperor. Your ships can't launch. Your weapons can't fire. Your empire is defenseless. Chen leaned forward. But we're not going to attack. Because unlike you, we don't murder defenseless people. Your infrastructure will come back online in 1 hour. Use that time to think carefully about your next decision. The transmission ended. The Vrak's Emperor sat alone in his palace, surrounded by dead screens and silent guards. For the first time in his long life, he understood what it meant to be powerless. In the Galactic Council chambers, species gathered nervously. The 24 hours were almost up. Everyone knew the humans were watching, waiting for an answer. Council leader Zarthik stood at the center platform. He looked old, tired, defeated. We have seen humanity's power, he said slowly. We have tested their patience. We have pushed them to the edge of war, and we have lost, badly. Around the chamber, representatives shifted uncomfortably. Nobody wanted to admit it, but everyone knew it was true. The question before us now is simple, Zarthik continued. Do we accept their terms? Or do we continue fighting a war we cannot win? We should negotiate. Someone shouted from the upper levels. Ask for compromises. We are the Galactic Council. We do not bow to demands. An old voice spoke up from the lower seats. It was Ambassador Mirik of the Plin species, the small, peaceful race that had been bullied for centuries. Negotiate what? Mirik asked. They want justice for murdered civilians. They want equality for all species. They want bullies to face consequences. Which of these things do you want to negotiate away? Silence. For hundreds of years, Mirik continued, my people and others like us have begged this council for protection, for fairness, for the same things humanity is asking for now. And you ignored us, because we were weak, because we couldn't force you to listen. He stood up, his small frame shaking slightly. Humanity is asking for the same things, but they're not begging, they're demanding. And you know what? I'm voting yes, because maybe finally the galaxy will have real justice. More voices joined him. Representatives from smaller species, the ones who had been ignored and exploited for so long. They saw in humanity what they had always wished they could be, strong enough to demand respect. We cannot let one species dictate terms to the entire galaxy. The Septar representative protested. It sets a terrible precedent. No, Zarthik said quietly. The terrible precedent was set long ago, when we allowed the strong to abuse the weak, when we ignored injustice because it was convenient, when we laughed at those who asked for basic fairness. He looked around the chamber. Humanity isn't asking for control. They're asking for equality. If that frightens us, then perhaps we're the problem. The vote was called. This time it was different. Out of 1,000 council members, 734 voted to accept humanity's terms. The rest abstained. Only the Vrak's Emperor voted no, and his vote came in late because his systems were still rebooting. The decision was made. The galaxy would accept peace on humanity's terms. Ambassador Chen received the news in his office. He didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He simply nodded and opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Phase 3 is complete, he said. The Council has accepted. Begin the withdrawal. Confirmed. The military voice responded. All fleets returning to defensive positions. Occupation protocols cancelled. Justice protocols initiated. Chen closed the channel and looked at his assistant. Prepare the treaty documents and get me a meeting with the families of the Kepler 442b victims. They deserve to know what their loved ones' deaths accomplished. While the political process moved forward, humanity's military made good on their promise. Human fleets that had advanced deep into Alliance territory began pulling back, not running, not retreating in defeat, simply returning home in disciplined formation. This shocked the galaxy more than the battles had. On a Krell military station, Admiral Torvik watched human ships pass by his disabled vessels. His tactical officer looked confused. "Admiral, they're leaving. They could destroy us easily. Our shields are still damaged. Our weapons are offline. Why aren't they finishing us?" Torvik thought about this. "Because they're not conquerors. They're soldiers. There's a difference. I don't understand. Conquerors want territory, power, control. Soldiers want to complete their mission and go home." Torvik watched the human ships disappear into jump space. Their mission was to force us to accept peace. We accepted, so they're going home. He paused. "It's honorable." Across Alliance space, similar scenes played out. Human forces withdrew from every system they had entered. They left behind only one thing: detailed records of war crimes. Every species that had committed atrocities received documentation, proof of their actions, names of the responsible parties, evidence that couldn't be denied or hidden. The Vrax Empire received the longest list: 200 years of conquered species, civilian massacres, destroyed cultures, all documented with perfect accuracy. The Galactic Council created special tribunals to address these crimes. For the first time in galactic history, powerful species faced real consequences for their actions. Military commanders were arrested. Politicians lost their positions. Entire governments fell. It was chaos. But it was just chaos. The Vrax Emperor was forced to appear before the tribunal. He stood in the center of the chamber, no longer wearing his royal armor. Just simple clothes. Just another person facing judgment. The tribunal leader read the charges. "Emperor Vrax, you are accused of ordering the attack on the human colony Kepler 442b. 10,000 civilians died. Do you deny this?" The Emperor looked around the room, looking for allies, looking for support. He found none. "They were on our ancestral territory," he said weakly. "We had a right to—" "You had no right to murder children," Admiral Okonkwo interrupted. She sat in the witness section, still in her military uniform. "You had no right to kill farmers and teachers and families. You had no right to destroy lives because of your pride." The Emperor glared at her. "You humans act so moral, so righteous, but you killed thousands of my people in your attacks." "We killed soldiers who were trying to kill us," Okonkwo replied calmly. "In open battle, with warnings given. That's called war. What you did was called murder. Learn the difference." The tribunal deliberated for 3 days. The verdict was unanimous: guilty on all charges. The Emperor's punishment was simple but devastating. All Vrax territory that had been taken by force would be returned to its original species. Reparations would be paid from the Imperial Treasury. The Emperor himself would be exiled from Vrax space forever. "You're destroying my empire," the Emperor shouted as guards led him away. "No," the tribunal leader said. "You destroyed it yourself. We're just making you face the consequences." Similar trials happened across the galaxy. Not everyone was punished, only those who had actually committed crimes. Humanity made this clear. They weren't seeking revenge. They were seeking justice. There was a difference. The Kepler 442b colony received its reparations. Money that couldn't bring back the dead, but could help the survivors rebuild. More importantly, the galaxy formally acknowledged that what happened was wrong, that those 10,000 lives mattered. Chen attended the memorial service on the rebuilt colony. Families gathered around a monument listing every name, every person who had died. He stood quietly in the back, watching people cry and remember and slowly begin to heal. An old woman approached him. She had lost her daughter and grandchildren in the attack. "Ambassador Chen," she said softly, "thank you for not letting them forget, for making the galaxy see that our children were people, not just numbers." Chen felt tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry it required so much violence. But it did require it, didn't it?" She looked at him with sad understanding. "They never would have listened otherwise. We asked nicely for justice. They laughed. You forced them to give it. Sometimes," she paused, "sometimes peace requires strength." Chen nodded slowly. "I just wish it didn't have to. So do we all, Ambassador. So do we all." While justice proceeded in the courts, something else was happening across the galaxy. Something unexpected. Smaller species that had been bullied for centuries began speaking up. The Plin, the Herix, the Quinn. Dozens of races that had stayed quiet out of fear. Now they had hope.